Bayonetta is a pretty fucking good game. I suck at it, and I think I'm stuck at my current level of suck. To be clear, I'm not getting mad at and blaming the game or anything. My lackluster skill cap is mostly my problem. Mostly. Bayonetta is not the type of game I normally play. I'm a more slow-paced player. Most of my favorite games are long-ass JRPGs, and the most action-heavy game that I love, Dark Souls, noticeably contrasts from Bayonetta in terms of their respective combat speeds. Where Bayonetta is a fast-paced combo fest, all about fast reactions and looking fancy, Dark Souls is slower, more methodical. You still have to react to enemy movements and attacks, but your windows for reacting to these attacks are usually generous in comparison to Bayonetta's blink of an eye stabs and swipes. That isn't to say Dark Souls is without its faster enemies and Bayonetta without its slower, but it's safe to say that each game leans towards opposite ends of the combat speed spectrum. General point being, I'm not used to fast-paced combat. I'm used to having at least a second or two to make life or death decisions, and only one or two at a time at that. So it stands to reason that Bayonetta would not be my type of game. After all, when played any way other than on normal mode with the intent of just getting through it, Bayonetta is a series of snap judgments that you have less than a second to make that determine whether or not you get to move on to the next million snap judgments or start all over again. And yet, here I am. I've done all of this, and even occasionally had fun along the way. How did Bayonetta do that? How did it rope me into playing it? And how, after I beat it, did it get me to play more? I didn't just beat it and think, this is fine. I got through the credits, pulled up my play history, saw a bunch of stone awards, and thought, this is unacceptable. Here's what I think it boils down to. First off, it feels good to play good. Second, it feels good to be told you played good. On the first point, being good at Bayonetta is not easy. I do believe I've made that clear by now. Learning enemy behavior, their attacks, and the dodge timing for each of them, along with learning your own combos and in what scenarios they'll be most handy, in addition to learning to balance your dodging and attacks so as to maximize your combo, do all of that at the same time in a hectic environment, and you just might get that platinum medal. Oh, and don't get hit, cause now it's gold. It is not easy, and in the effort of trying to get good, I put in attempt after attempt at each individual verse so I could come out with that tasty plat. Getting hit and failing to move and attack effectively was always frustrating because I knew I could do better, but I also knew it was going to take a while to get to that point. Successfully executing a verse well enough to get a platinum or even pure makes me feel accomplished. I put in the work to earn this, and the attempt that finally worked went so well that, on its own, it makes me look like a badass that knows what he's doing. Hell yeah. On the second point, the self-satisfaction of knowing I did it would not have been enough for me. I can say that for certain because I get mad when playing Bayonetta. Imagine if Aaron Hansen were ever restrained in his anger. That's how mad I get. Since I've mentioned the Grump, recall that part of the Battle Kid series. At one point, Aaron says,
"Nothing will make me feel better. Even the victory will be bittersweet."
That is how I end up feeling at the worst of times. Going for a platinum trophy, going for several minutes of gameplay before fucking up and having to do it over and over again, and getting progressively more frustrated with both myself and the game. Sometimes an enemy will attack you straight out of a cutscene and you have no time to react, which is super frustrating because it feels like you took damage and thus had your score lowered through no fault or mistake of your own. Then there are these quick-time events that, if you fail them, means you get an instant game over and have to restart the chapter if you want that platinum trophy. Because game overing and continuing means lowering your overall score, and that did happen to me. Thanks to things like that, and my mediocre skill level, I get too worked up to enjoy my victory, given that it's nice to have easily accessible proof of my accomplishments within the game. I can look at the screen full of victory and feel good about myself without having to deal with a lot of pent-up anger. On top of that, the trophies act as your primary motivation to get better. Your average player, myself especially, will not come out of their first playthrough with a bunch of shiny platinum trophies, or golds, or even silvers. You come out with a bunch of stone awards, and those stones, they feel bad, man. They're essentially the game giving you the finger. They're saying, wow, you really sucked, but you somehow made it through? Okay, whatevs. And that I could not stand for. Having a screen full of proof that I sucked was unacceptable. I didn't want the game telling me I sucked. I didn't want to suck. So I put in the effort, far too much effort, and eventually I prevailed. Staring at the screen full of proof of my victory, it feels good, man. I think it is remarkable that the game was able to motivate me to get better simply with the promise of subbing out this ugly-ass stone thing with a nice and shiny trophy. If the game was lacking in this trophy system, I would have beaten the game, put it down, called it a day. But the trophies were there, and they encouraged me to get good. So I played on, and got them, and felt good. But I still don't think I'm that good at the game. I don't experiment at all with weapons. I've found my favorites and stick to them, that being the sword and Kilgore. Dodge offsetting, a technique basically required for high-level play, is a technique I cannot reliably execute, and usually don't bother trying, which means Gracious and Glorious always kicked my ass. Fuckers. The only reason I was able to claim all of these platinum trophies was thanks to Bayonetta's generous checkpoint system. If I messed up, I could just restart a little ways back with no penalty to my score. Without that, there's no way in hell I ever would have accomplished this much. I don't think my skill at this game is ever going to improve significantly, but, and we're finally getting to the title of the video here, that's okay. It is okay because, having played over 40 hours to do this much, I am satisfied with my time with the game. I feel like I've gotten almost all I can out of it. Sure, I haven't 100%ed it. I haven't gotten pure platinum in every chapter on non-stop infinite climax difficulty, and fuck that shit, by the way. But I don't really care. Just replaying the chapters on normal to get the platinum trophies, which itself requires numerous attempts, means I've experienced every part of the game numerous times, notwithstanding the different enemy layouts on higher difficulties, so I've seen as much as I need to feel like I've gotten a complete experience. Not complete as in everything, but complete as in whole. Through hours of playing, through learning the game and getting as good as I could, I feel I've gotten as much out of the game as I need to move on from it with no regrets. I had fun with the game, and I'm happy to leave it at that. Also, I love how the game's theme is Fly Me to the Moon. That song is a classic, and this game's version of it is so cool, and it fits and represents Bayonetta's flashy style so well. I love it. Thanks for sitting through my rambling about a good game that's already been discussed to death, but I made this video anyway because fuck it, I guess. Leave a comment if you want to say something. Believe it or not, I do enjoy reading every single one I get. Thanks again for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think it's time I move on to the sequel. See what that game has to offer. See you later.